Ancestral veneration. So, yeah, let's get into it. This is Ancestral Veneration Module 1. As you've seen in the introduction, ancestry is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm learning as I go. So, I'm not 100% sure how this presentation is going to look. I'm hoping I'm a little picture in a bubble, you know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can get this camera together. I'm still, as you all know, just moved into my new place. I'm still kind of getting that together. I got like a little 30 something days under my belt here, but here we go. Ancestral veneration. Who are the ancestors? When Black and Indigenous Americans, African diasporic spiritual systems, and or African traditional religions speak of the ancestors, we're not just referring to distant relatives in a genealogical sense. It's deeper, spiritual, and cultural. So for me, let me talk about me because I do better when I talk about me, and I'm sure some of you all can relate. I have kinfolks that's not my blood relatives. I have my aunties and my uncles and my play cousins. Like, I really came up like that. I came up with real family, but also came up with play cousins and aunties and uncles that were not necessarily blood relatives, but definitely the love was there. So your literal ancestors, these are your biological forebearers, who you came from. Your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, people in your bloodline going back generations. For Black people, for Black Americans, melanated Americans, however you see it, because I don't want to offend anyone, but this includes ancestors who endured slavery, migration, and survival in the diaspora. For Indigenous Americans, it includes those from specific tribes, clans, and nations who lived on and stewarded the land. Literal ancestors continue. So, adoptive ancestors, your chosen family line, your adoptive parents and their lineage, the people who raised you, protected you, and shaped you. In African diasporic traditions, especially chosen family, absolute. What? Oh, in African diasporic traditions, especially chosen families absolutely count. For our lineage, for our lineages, survival has always included building family beyond blood. And I call these ancestors, me personally, I call these my bloodline. So, I mean, my love line. So I call these ancestors my bloodline. I call these ancestors my love line. Um, Sometimes the people that raise us up and love on us and pour into us and grow us into who we become are not necessarily related to us by blood, but that does not make them any less family. My love line, for real, I'm more connected to them and know more about them than I do about some of the people in my bloodline. You feel me? Cultural ancestors. Not always blood related. These are people who shape the identity and survival of the community. Our freedom fighters, our elders, healers, knowledge keepers, warriors, and all those that made contributions to the betterment of our culture as a whole. They are honored because their actions still impact our lives today. You know your cultural ancestors. Matter of fact, that's the homework for right here. Yeah, I'm a what one thing at a time. Your spiritual ancestors. In many indigenous and African belief systems, ancestors are active spiritual presences. They are seen as guides, protectors, and witnesses. People may call on them for strength, clarity, and or protection. This idea shows up in many traditional West African derived practices, as well as indigenous spiritual systems tied to land, nature, and lineage. And then we have our collective ancestors. Sometimes the ancestors means all who came before and made survival possible, even unnamed or forgotten people whose lives created the present. So basically, your bloodline plus your love line plus your people's history plus the spirits of those who came before you and still influence you that wish to see you on the highest path for your greatest good equal the ancestors. It's less about the exact names and more about the connection, memory, and respect. You feel me? Is if we can call those names out, it's a beautiful thing. But if we can't call those names out, we can still venerate those ancestors. What is veneration? What is veneration? I remember one time I had sent a picture, an altar video to my family down south, and I had just said ancestral veneration. So my cousin, she had put a little side eye on it. And then she came back like an hour later and she was like, I just finished looking up what veneration is, and that's cool. It was cool before you looked it up. What people don't know is like, anyway, veneration. Venerate, I like to use the etymology dictionary. I like to get to the root of a word. Veneration is a noun, early 15th century. Venerous, I'm not doing that. Solemn respect and reverence, religious worship. From the old French veneration, from Latin venerationum, a nominative blah, 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 veneratio. Reverence, profoundest respect. Noun of action from past participle stem of venerari, to worship, revere. From Venus, genitive, veneris, beauty, love, desire. We love our ancestors. We respect our ancestors. We show reverence to our ancestors. Without our ancestors, we would not be who we are. And I know I hear people from time to time to say, we are not our ancestors. But you are. But you are. And all of our ancestors was not the good guys. And all of our ancestors, um, yeah, a lot of us have ancestors that shucked and jived. And to each his own and everything. You know, where you come from is where you come from. But I would never say, I would never be so bold as to say I'm not my ancestors, because I am my ancestors. Not only am I my ancestors on a genetic level, I'm my ancestors in a physical. I can look in my mirror at any given moment and see my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my great, 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 and run it back. You understand? Because they lived through us. And yeah, a lot of us, you ain't had no ancestors, you wouldn't be here. Veneration is important. It's important to respect where you come from. You remember the elders used to say, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. It still stands true to this day, to this day, to this day. You got to know the people that you come from. A lot of us get caught up in the where my people from. Once you find out who you from, you'll know where you're from. But it's very important to that who. That who is going to tell you uh the things in your genetics that might need to be repaired, the things in your genetics that are gifts and talents that you may need to shift pour yourself into. The who trumps the where. The who will lead you to the where. Once you know who you are from, for real, that's where you are from. Because home is where the heart is. So, yeah, veneration, to love, honor, respect, worship our ancestors to the in the most profound ways. What is veneration? We do not worship our ancestors. We revere, respect, and honor them. We pay honor to them. We pay homage to them. We make sure we don't forget where we came from. I love to work under the principle of Sankofa. That means to reach back and get it. That means to remember who you came from. That means to remember. And sometimes remembrance comes through meditation. Sometimes remembrance comes through sitting and having the talks with your ancestral selves. And I say that like, what do I mean by that? I mean, sometimes I'll sit and I'll just fall into conversation with people that love me that have already transitioned. And I know some people look at you crazy when you say you talk to yourself, but sometimes when you're talking to yourself, that's not necessarily you talking to your spirit, got to get a word in. And if it's just you and spirit in the space, where else is the word going to come from? You're going to get it here, but you should speak it out loud so that you can hear it, get the clarity around the messages that come through from the spirit realm. So yeah, revere, respect, and honor them. Why veneration? We venerate our ancestors out of love and respect for those that came before us. The primary concern of ancestors is the well-being of their descendants. It's about the carrying on. It's about continuing the work of those who came before you. And sometimes we don't know what that work is because we have lost a lot over the course of time space, right? We have lost a lot, so we don't necessarily know what the work is. That's why veneration. Veneration, we honor our ancestors. Our lives are improved by their ability to intercede. When we honor our ancestors, our lives are improved by their ability to intercede in the spirit. I really feel like I write better than I speak. When we honor our ancestors, our lives are improved by their ability to intercede in the spirit. They are directly invested in our success because when we heal, when we prosper, when we thrive, our ancestors do too. When you heal a generational trauma, you heal your bloodline going forward and you heal your bloodline going back. You know what I'm saying? So whatever good that you pour into you, that it ripples. It ripples throughout time and space because time and space is not linear. Why the ancestors? Because we are their legacy. They want us to live fully because in life they loved and cared for us. And even in death, they want their lineage to carry on. By doing good for the living, spirits of the dead grow and learn, gradually becoming more divine and elevated versions of themselves. Ancestry is a integral part of life. Okay, becoming an ancestor is a big fucking deal because nobody gets out of here alive. You got to die to get over there. So get your mind right. Start building your legacy now. Start remembering your ancestors now. Start calling in your gifts and your talents that are genetically are in your genetic memory. Get your recall on. I know I get on my ancestor nerves. I know I do. I know I do. The next thing we going to work on though, module 2 coming up. You'll see module 2 when I get to it. I'm not even about to put that kind of pressure on myself. Ancestral veneration. Who are the ancestors? You got your literal ancestors, your bloodline, and your love line. Cultural ancestors, those that made contributions for the whole. Spiritual ancestors, the ones that are active spiritual presences. Collective ancestors, that is the coming together of all of your ancestry. What is veneration? Solemn respect and reverence and worshiping, not religious worship. Not eat, hold on, I said worship, not worship. Solemn respect, reverence, profound respect to show love to them. What is veneration? We revere, respect, and honor our ancestors. Why veneration? Because when we heal ourselves here, we heal them there. They can do work for us there that benefits us here. It's a team effort. It's a teamwork, make the dream work. We venerate our ancestors out of love and respect for those that came before us. The primary concern of ancestors is the well-being of their descendants. That's the first line of defense is your ancestors. If you out here working with a deity, if you out here worshiping anything other than the one most high source, prime source creator, and you ain't tapped in with your ancestors, just sit your ass down. Ancestors over everything. It's the most high, it's the ancestors. And then you can work with everybody else or whatever energies and entities else, or however you see it. Because I'm not here to tell you how to work your magic, but I will tell you this. My ancestors give me permission to work with the different energies and entities that I work with. I don't nothing move forward unless the ancestors say so in the spirit realm. So yeah, Ashe.